Hey flower friends, it is your friend in flowers, Lisa Mason Ziegler, gone rogue tonight. I am doing a live show. I'm simulcasting. I am live inside my app and I'm live here on Instagram because we've been getting a whole lot of conversation and questions and excitement about my big calendar journal. And I just thought I was going to come on here and just kind of share, not the story, but kind of the story. And if people always are saying to me, I just want to grow flowers like you do. Friends, if you want to do that, this is my key. So before we jump in and I tell you a little bit about, because it's so much more than a calendar, right? I'm wondering now, did I make a mistake naming it calendar first? The calendar is just one little small piece about what this resource is all about. So I wanted to tell you folks that are in Instagram, I'm also inside my phone app. And my phone app is where the live gardening show goes on. And this is what it looks like. See all these people here? Those are the live viewers in the show. And you just have more options of being able to ask me questions and to be able to shop if you wanted to buy something. Although tonight I'm just really talking about the calendar and then a couple other resources. But I just wanted to bring Instagram on board for this. So y'all have probably never seen this part of my workspace. This is the back side of where the show takes place. There's a beautiful stage all across the back of this building. And I really wanted to kind of show you my process, but first off, if you're new here, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm the owner of the Gardener's Workshop. And this all started, y'all, 1998, so like 28 years ago, in a small backyard in the middle of the city. I'm still in the middle of the city, and I still don't have a lot of land, but I have a little bit more than I did back then. Started a flower farm, launched my little business, and it has just flourished as I have moved and added more things, and found that my real powerful gift is empowering other people to actually garden and grow flowers, even particularly the people that were like me that think they could never do it, right? You don't live in the right place, you don't have the right stuff, you don't know much about gardening. I was all those things. And so anyway, I slayed my way through that all these years, and sharing that with you and empowering you to actually do it has become my greatest joy in my business career, right? And we do that through creating resources. And so the resource that I want to talk to you about tonight is called the Big Calendar Journal. So that's the name of this, but you have to see the second line: Cut Flower Seed Starting and Planting Guide. Y'all, this is so much more than just a big giant calendar, right? And that's what I thought I would talk to you about. Now, this room is kind of long, and for my in-app people, I have a microphone on that goes to Instagram. There is not a microphone possibility for the phone app. So if I walk away and I'm rambling and you don't hear me, I apologize now. And we're working on all that stuff. So I'm going to show you what this calendar came from. For the past 15 years, I literally have, my first big calendar was in, actually it's 11 years, 2015. And that's not right. It's 2011, so that's what? 15 years, I was right. I have 15 years of calendars here. And, for all you spreadsheet people, I have nothing against spreadsheets. This is a different tool. This is a tool that I'm going to walk over here and show you where the big calendar lives here on my farm. This is it, right here. That's the door that goes out of my building, out to the farm and to my house. And by having this calendar filled out and hang it on that door, not only does it constantly remind me of what I need to do. When I come out to the farm in the morning, first thing I do is go in my grow room and water my seedlings. The second thing I do is stop at that calendar to see what is it we're supposed to be doing. And this may not seem very important to you in the middle of January when it's, here we're wet and cold. It is the nastiest day out here today. But in July, when it's 102 degrees and you've been outside working since 5:30 a.m. and it's now 11 o'clock in the morning and you're coming in because you're going to work indoors the rest of the day because people would be dying outside in the heat, you don't remember anything. This is what we look at to know where we are and what we need to do. I mean, you can make this calendar as simple or as complex as you want. And through the years, mine has gotten more and more, not complex, just adding more stuff. Like, when do you order plugs for Lisianthus? I mean, when do you start? It's deep and wide. So I'm going to spread my calendars back out. So I'm just reading some of the comments here. So everybody can hear and see. So this is what I do. I do the planning for the year in mid to late January. And some people may think, oh, that's a little late. No, it's not. Not for me. It's not. First off, up until now, I have been totally fried. Last, October, you're getting your cool flowers in, you're finishing up your garden. November is coming, and then the holidays start, and you're just all tied up, right? And I am busy and just not having time. When I'm coming out of the holiday season, and I've had, a week of R&R between Christmas and New Year's, I come out of that ready to hit the ground running, and that's when I want to plan my year. Now, keep in mind, as I'll show you, we only write on this calendar with a pencil, because I'm not saying that I don't change stuff, add stuff, delete stuff throughout the year potentially, but the foundation is going to be here. So this is what I do when I come out. Typically this week, I would come out here. These are just 6-foot black plastic tables. These are what we make bouquets on and all the other things that happen here for the business. And I spread these out, and that's what I'm going to do now. Because I want every year to be easily accessed. And, friends, the Big Calendar Journal was built from all these calendars. That's part of what I really want to communicate to people. All the years of experiencing creating this system lies here in all these calendars. And there's really no other way in my mind to actually do it. For it to be a part of our workflow. And also, this is probably one of the biggest pats on the back that I get all year, looking back at all the stuff we have done and conquered and all the seeds that we've started. All right, so 2019 is the year that they sold out of the big calendar that I used before I made mine, before I could get it. I think I have room for them all. So these are all turned to January, and I've already looked at them. I did it yesterday, did a little video actually, where I went through and looked at, I literally go along and just kind of look at stuff. I mean, who knew that I ever started, is it called Borage? Don't even remember doing that. That was 2017. There's probably a note later on in here about how that all went. It's just really a great a great, great tool. So here is how this calendar has come together. So based on all these years that I've done this, so this is the cover. This is like a cover of a book, right? And like this is what a month looks like, and there's the instructions, and here's the tips in the back. So I'm just going to show you. It does not matter where you live, what region you're in, this calendar works for you. Because my guide, there are 9 planting windows, 9 different planting windows. You follow the instructions. It's all based on your first and last frost dates. And there is very early spring planting, summer planting for fall blooms of cool. These are all cool flowers right here. Summer planting for fall blooms, summer planting for biennials, fall planting of cool flowers, and winter planting. So it guides you to find those and if they actually apply to you. Then here's the warm season down here, as well as, y'all, the sunflower succession planting. Then so you always start at the end. You know, when you're starting a business, you're starting any project, you think of the end result before you do anything. Well, when you're trying to figure out when to plant something, we always start when are you supposed to plant it? And that's what that guide there guides to tell you. To figure out for your garden, when are you supposed to plant, or what are your window of planting those plants are. And my recommendation is to people because I'm telling you, your brain will be like smoking when you finish the 9 planting windows, to take a break, maybe even go to the next day before you soldier on and then start figuring out your seed starting schedule. So you fill out step 1 and step 2, which is facts and something you need to do. Then you tackle your planting windows. All of this is creating your seed starting schedule. When you mark your calendar for your planting windows, that's what makes it so simple to figure out when are you supposed to start seeds. Because you know what I didn't bring over here? Wait a minute, let me get it. It's laying here somewhere, y'all. Something else that comes with the calendar. The calendar is $39.95 plus $11.95 shipping. It also has a QR code. That made me think of something, y'all. Did I even select? I did not. So if you're in the shopping app, I just clicked on the calendar so you can actually buy one if you want it. If you're in Instagram, you can comment calendar and it'll DM you the link. And I will tag it on here after we're done. But you can find it on the website, thegardenersworkshop.com. So all the instructions, this is the guide that is going to just open the door for you of when you plant all of these different annual planting windows. And you're going to hit this QR code, and that's going to lead you to the PDF download of my seed starting worksheet. This worksheet has 66 of my favorite flowers. This is actually the 66 that are in the Cut Flower Handbook. And this worksheet, which is about 6 or 7 pages long, has all the information you need to sit down with your calendar that you have marked where your planting windows are. And you go to one said planting window and you pick out the flowers you're going to plant there. And it tells you how many weeks before that planting date you should start the seed. Y'all, it's like everything that you need. And, you know, I named this show, it's not on Instagram, but do you want to grow flowers like I do? This is how simple it is, y'all. It is, in fact, I believe, so simple that we don't believe it's that simple, and we make it so much more complicated. I even dislike using the word succession planting because there is such a bad stigma attached to it, and it's because we go so deep and add so many details that are unnecessary and just make it, I understand a logistical nightmare because I used to be there until I learned. How did I learn about a calendar? Probably about 17 or 18 years ago, I went to a flower farm in Oklahoma for a cut flower conference. It was Vicki Stanback's farm. And while we were in her building, like she had a much bigger building than I have, we were all sitting in there listening to speakers, and I could see hanging on the side of a file cabinet this big calendar. And I was sitting so I could actually kind of like read what was on there. And I realized halfway through one of the talks, those were her lists of seed starting. But it had so much more stuff. And so I had a conversation with her after it. She had a big farm. And she shared with me, that's what runs my farm. Once, when you still have your wits about you in winter, for me, that's January, you sit down and map out the strategic pieces of growing flowers, and you put it on this calendar. And then you can, and y'all, you do not write longhand notes on this calendar. This is like a bulleted at a glance kind of thing. And she said, that way, everybody knows what everybody's doing, and I don't forget key things. And so I started, that's in 2011 was my first year's calendar. And I was just going to look. So this is the first March of the first year that I used the calendar concept. That is pretty cool. Back then we still had Oriental basil. I just love looking at this. I see varieties that sometimes I tried them, and then because I was not a great grower back then, maybe I kicked them to the curb, and I've decided today that maybe I grew dahlias back then too, y'all. I don't do that anymore. Anyway, so I learned from her. She said it just takes all the smoke out. It just puts it in concrete. And then because she didn't talk about learning when to plant what, I had to figure that out. And because I was and I still am, almost an exclusive annual grower because I'm a small space farmer, that's how you get the biggest bang for your buck per square foot, to be able to grow more in a small space is with annuals. And then I went to work figuring out this. And in 2025, we actually were able to create the big calendar journal, which has this complete guide that will take you by the hand. So in addition to that, so let's look at one of the pages. So this is also an any year calendar. That means there's no year written and there's no dates on the days. You fill it in. That just gives people options to, no matter what time of the year they actually begin, right? But look how big each weekday is. I mean, that's a huge square. It actually gives you space to write. In addition, each month at the bottom has a reminder. I mean, January is dream and plan, some of my tips on things that I do and think about. February is start seeds indoors. There's some tips. March is prep for planting. April is plant and protect. And I mean, it's just random things that, let's find a random thing. Use row cover for cold snaps. Schedule weekly weed prevention hours. Mulch promptly. It's just the things that I think about when we get to a certain week or something. It's like, oh my gosh, we have to do this, this, and this week. And that's the kind of stuff that's written here. May is sow and grow. June is bloom time begins. And I mean, it's not that mid-season momentum. It's just random tips that I have nowhere else. It's like you wouldn't find these. It'd be hard pressed to find this kind of stuff in my books. A lot of it is in there intertwined, but this is more timely. So that's mid-season. This is August, evaluate and extend. September is fall transition. October, clean up and tuck in. November is rest and reflect. December is time to dream again, right? And here's what I was getting to, the last page. Now, the last page has my tips on a lot of different things. Writing on this calendar. You know, we always recommend, I have my pencil right here, we send you the pencil that I recommend that you use. If you're a teacher, this is teacher's favorite pen. I cannot pronounce it. It's Ticonderoga. What is so awesome about this pencil? It's not that other pencils won't work, but you know what the difference is? This pencil writes beautifully, but it erases beautifully. You know, cheap erasers leave streak marks, so we send you one of these. That's in the tips, to only write with a pencil. I have some seed buying tips, seed storage tips, big picture succession planting. Y'all, right here in this little square is the 30,000-foot view of how to break your garden up for succession planting. Planning once you have calendars from previous years. That is this, y'all. So you buy a calendar this year, or you start a calendar this year, you fill it out, and the next year you're going to pull that calendar out and sit down with your new calendar and take from this the lessons learned and the things that, I mean, it's like, for instance, we've already had some snafus on things that got missed being started this last fall. They're already written on the calendar for this coming fall. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it is just such a great reminder, keep you online, how much to have on hand. I mean, it talks about compost and fertilizer. And so here is what I really wanted to get to, is days of the week column use. I write specific things in specific columns, meaning Monday column, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And you know what that does, y'all? When you kind of follow, you can do any pattern you want, but when you follow this, it allows you to know where everything is. And that means when you look back on your calendar, I know that I can look on Saturdays to see the first blooms or the first harvest of stuff. I know that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, that's where I put my seed starting list. You know what Sundays are? That's the sunflower weekly rotation stuff. And I just know where everything goes. And I just share here what my practice has been. I talk about cover cropping and different garden coverings uses, seed starting notes, resources, plug suppliers, irrigation, and then the way that we worked here on the farm for so long, like what our work week looked like. So while this is called the Big Calendar Journal, it is a big calendar. It is a big you-know-what calendar, right? But that is what you actually apply the guide information onto. And I just can't tell you how clear succession planting came. You know, it seems too simple, doesn't it, to just literally sit down with a calendar and figure out your whole year. But it is truly that simple. And I wanted to show these. So the cut flower guide and seed starting guide tells you when to start, like snaps, different flower families, snaps, zinnias, celosia, you know, all the different cool flowers, Chinese forget-me-nots, whatever you're talking about. You know, it tells you like when to plant it based on but when you're going to plant it outside, when to start it. But it couldn't possibly tell you all the different variety options, which varieties I grow, and all of the seed starting tips and steps. And I just wanted to say, when you have the Cut Flower Handbook, this book and this guide has everything you need to grow an amazing cut flower garden or a farm. I mean, it answers all your questions, preparing, planting, planning. And if you're in the app, you know, you can find the book in the app. And also, if you're on Instagram, you know, this is also in my store. And we also always, with my books, always have some kind of bonus that comes along with it when you buy it from us. And these are the 6 flowers that we could not fit into the book, y'all. You know, it's really, really hard. You have to cut and cut and cut. There's only so many pages. And so we made a bonus PDF download that you can download and print. And we recommend that you print it at the 85% on your printer so that it's the same, a little bit smaller than your book, right? So this will then guide you to seed starting tips for specific flowers. There's 66 flowers featured in this book, and each one of those shows what the seedling looks like, seed starting tips, how you start it, where you cut it, how you cut it. It has everything. It's like the rest of the story. But what I want, and my other 2 books, you know, Vegetables Love Flowers will also take you on a much smaller window of flowers on that same journey. And then, of course, we have Cool Flowers for the cool season. What I have learned, and I wrote about this in the Cut Flower Handbook, you cannot overcome problems that are a result of planting at the wrong time. Meaning cool flowers. They're just such a classic, although warm season could be just as symptomatic. We are always daily getting messages from people. I didn't plant my XYZ cool flower seeds. Can I still start them now? Is it too late? You can start anytime you want. That is obvious, right? But when you don't plant a plant into its preferred conditions out in the garden, it suffers. And when it suffers, it just never truly reaches its optimal. So with cool flowers, let's just say like right now, the planting window we're quickly heading into is very early spring planting for cool season hardy annuals. That is 6 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost. My planting time is mid-February to the 1st of March. I mean, that is not far from now. We've got a grow room full of seedlings. Those are all cool season hardy annuals, right? So if I hadn't started yet and I waited, let's just say 2 more weeks to start those seeds that are supposed to be transplants grown up, ready to go to the garden in mid-February, but I don't get there. They aren't big enough. They get to the garden, the end of March, maybe. What your plants are missing out on is that 6 to 8 week runway of getting established before spring really gets started. And a result of not having that runway is they just aren't well rooted in. And what happens when that happens? They're shorter. They just aren't abundant. I mean, it's all the things that we suffered from before we actually knew when to plant cool season hardy annuals. The world had been planting them in spring when actually they should have been planted almost 2 months before that. Not planting there's nothing you can do to overcome that, by the way. Missing your window, planting late, and then you have a puny plant that you're trying to do CPR on. I mean, we talk to these people all the time. And I know I used to be that person. Did you know that Status is a cool flower, a cool season hardy annual? I tried to grow Status as a warm season tender annual for years. And I would get stems about this tall. You know how tall my Status is now? Why? Because I planted on the proper window. That's the only difference. That is the only difference, y'all. Timing is everything. And this big calendar journal is what guides you to the proper planting time. And then once you get in your ebb and flow, then you soon realize it also spreads out the work. It spreads out the seed starting. It relieves your heat mats and grow lights because you're not bombarding them with a ton of stuff at once. I mean, let's face it, none of us have ever had enough cool seed starting, heat mats, and grow lights. I mean, here I am 30 years in almost, and I have a grow room, a 10 by 10 room that's nothing but grow lights and heat mats. And I still don't have enough, y'all. But I'm just saying, by following succession planting, which just means you're planting stuff pretty much all the time. It's in some part of the cycle. As soon as we get all of the very early spring plantings in, guess what we're doing then? Now we're starting all of our first warm season tender annual. So we have time to stop and start a bunch of seeds. And then while they're growing up, we're baking the beds out in the garden for those transplants. Then once they're grown up, we're planting them. And then the planting them takes maybe a week or two sometimes. When we're done with that, guess what? We starting seeds again for the next window, or for biennials, or for cool flowers for fall blooming. I will say that what I didn't mention, on the QR code of the calendar, wrong page, on that page that the QR code takes you to, which is where the seed starting worksheet that comes with the calendar worksheet is there. But there is also a workshop of me walking you through these 9 planting windows and my suggestion of how you only tackle, if you're new to this whole succession thing, how you just start with the 4 basics. And I outline those in the worksheet. And it's really, y'all, we have to go slow before we can go fast. That's my motto for 2026. We have to go slow before we can go fast. And that's not just flower farmers, it's gardeners in general. You learn how to garden and all of a sudden you have an enormous garden in your backyard that looks really great when you first plant it and it's first sprouting, but come back in 2 months, it's totally overgrown, you're totally overwhelmed, you don't even go to that part of the yard anymore. Y'all, start small and start slow. Follow my recommendation that's in the workshop that comes with the calendar. It's a replay of one that I did live for all the wonderful people, thousands of people that pre-ordered their calendar. And that brings me to another thing. Get your calendars while supplies last. We're burning through pallets. So get your calendar. I guess the real thing that I wanted to share tonight is that it is a big calendar, and when you write on it, for me, it became the most useful, effective, and powerful farm journal that I've ever had. This is so much more. We won't get into a long discussion about this, right? But we know that looking at paper and writing with pencils resonates with our brains more than looking at a screen, right? So that alone is enough reason to have a calendar, right? But this, and having it hanging somewhere in your midst, whether it's in your mud room, your laundry room, your bedroom door, or your bathroom door, to look at and just have a stop and visual. When sometimes in the summer, particularly in the summer when we're completely in high production years, when we had 6 people here harvesting, sometimes it depends on how hot it is outside. We typically did not come inside the building. It was air conditioned. We would go sit in the shade and drink and eat for 15 minutes before we would go back out. But when it wasn't so ridiculously hot outside, we would come inside for a little break for 15 or 20 minutes. We would often all find ourselves standing around the calendar, kind of like just eating our apples and watermelon, looking at the calendar, see like, Bobo, of course, is just the best at reminding me of what's coming for the next week. Do we have enough soil to start soil blocks? Do we have those seeds? And all of that is on here of how we actually use the calendar to stay on top of our seed inventory, how you check your seed inventory and put a check mark, and then we highlight it with yellow once the seeds are started. There's this whole super simple system. And so while it may look like a simple calendar, y'all, this is literally what ran my farm for the last 15 years and made me into this amazing succession planter. That when we have, we do an open farm most years, once a year in summer. People come, it's very humbling, y'all. People come from all over the country to my little city garden, But what I think that I have mastered, which a lot of people struggle with, is what I'm talking to you about. It's this constant supply of quality flowers, day after day, week after week, month after month. And it's this calendar, y'all. I am not any smarter than anybody else. I am a highly dyslexic, learning disabled person, and I need things simple and clear. And taking a very complicated methodology, because it's been made complicated by people that I don't even think really succession plant, y'all, and just made it what it is. It's so very, very simple. So if you're in the app, the calendar, you can, check out with your calendar. The books are also in there. I was actually going to bring, and so I'm just going to read you all that are in Instagram. So this is my dashboard over here for the live shopping show that's going on, and I can see all the comments of the people, and a lot of these folks have calendars. So I'm just looking. Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. Absolutely love your tips. Have helped me so much. You and your team and calendar are a godsend. Flower life changing. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. The worksheets are invaluable, amazing information. Y'all just don't know how much this just helps to know that y'all are finding this as significant as I feel like it has been. And what I love most about this, and after you have, once you've done this for 2 or 3 years, it kind of reveals how significant this process is when you look back, even just a couple years back, and you see things that you had totally forgotten about. And what else? It's like sometimes we learn that we want to add something to an additional, like there's 3 warm season planting windows on the instructions and like how you apply that to yours. But it's like what we really find is that sometimes there's flowers that we have started to grow, let's just say in the middle of the summer, that we decide that is just not a great summer flower, but that would be a perfect fall flower. And this is where that kind of information. So the other thing I wanted to tell you, and this one doesn't have it, it's up there. We send you a string. There's a little brown bag in your big box that comes with your calendar. In that bag is the pencil and a piece of jute to tie your pencil. Let it hang. Just tie it to the end of, it's spiral bound. Let it hang there. So if you come in, tuckered out, or you're coming in just to go to the bathroom, you can stop and jot a note on the calendar and your pencil is hanging right there. That way nobody writes on it with a pen. That's like a cardinal sin around here. We don't write. There are some calendars here where it's my handwriting. I did it. That I wrote in a pen because I simply could not find a pencil. And so, friends, it's just been life-changing. In addition to marrying the right man, I think this calendar is the next thing that really ushered me in to become an efficient flower farmer, because you have too much other mess to do, right? As a grower, you have a lot of other things to focus on. This gets you better and better and better as a succession planter year after year. And so the Big Calendar Journal is so much more than a big calendar journal, y'all. It is the cut flower, seed starting, and planting guide. The planting guide that's on here, all that information is weaved into the cut flower handbook. But this is like the cliff notes, and then the tool that allows you to write it where you're supposed to do the stuff. It just is so very, very handy and useful. And I just see so many. so many folks in here, so I will, I'm going to look over here on Instagram and see if we have any questions. I see all the comments. Do love the seed starting sheets. Thank you for the awesome tool. You know, I'll tell y'all, for years we talked about trying to produce the calendar, but we couldn't find a printer. And, you know, back years ago, we used to produce a we printed a catalog every year, back when everybody used to make catalogs. And we literally reached out to the company that used to do that, and they're the ones that made this possible. And it was so surprising and exciting for us to be able to produce this for y'all. So to be able to put my seed starting, planting instructions on the tool that you actually recorded on really became something really good. All right, so Instagram, I am going to now look at my messages over here in the app. Hey, Janice, we have lots of great comments. You and your that's I've already read that. The worksheets are invaluable. I live in Ohio, not able to plant till after Mother's Day. Not saying I don't want to plant. What if you don't know what to plant? Debbie, that is the whole point of this calendar. And yes, you can plant before Mother's Day. It depends on what family you're talking about. That's what the calendar really guides you to. Hey, everybody. Do you cold stratify any of your seeds by placing them on a wet paper towel and putting them in the fridge if the seed packet's directions don't say to do it? So I don't grow coneflowers as a cut flower. I have grown it in years past, but that's not part of our working cutting garden. And all of the varieties that are included in my resources, meaning books on our website, in this worksheet, typically do not require any kind of stratification or prepping, although there are some that may benefit from them. So no, we don't do that as a regular step. Randy, missed you at the ASCFG conference. Disappointed that the Gardener's Workshop had zero representation. I'm enrolled in your high tunnel class. No one to talk to. Randy, there was a bunch of students there. No, you're right. We were not there. And so we are sponsors of the conference, but I was not able to be there. But there was a large group, nothing that we orchestrated, that people that got there. And you know that there's a private Facebook group for that course where you can ask questions to Steve and Gretel, and to talk to other people that are in your course. So yeah, nobody wanted to be there more than me. But it doesn't always work out that way. And so friends, I just thought I would just really wanted to kind of give more of the backstory of the calendar. And it's one of those quiet tools that's a significant part of what I do. And you know what I love the most is that I figure this out in the next 2 weeks, and then I don't have to think about it again. And then it's easy to figure out what seeds you need to get, if you need to check your inventory, and to just really move on with everything else, because that's part of what I think is so surprising. This is really true in business too. It's so funny when you're first getting started, we so hyper focus on things that are challenging to us, that are just, we get all caught up in it. But little do you know that there's 46 other things that are just like that you just haven't gotten to yet. So to be able to create your planting windows, which leads to your seed starting schedule, to get that kind of hammered out is incredible. And once you get your system flowing, it is pretty amazing how confident you get and how it builds your confidence, right? So friends, I do not see any questions. This phone went off that I need to answer. And so thanks for joining me here tonight. We are having we need rain. So it's just been a really rainy, and now it's very cold. So it's going to be an awesome spring here in southeastern Virginia because of all this rain. But this is a great time to get my seed stuff figured out. And that's what I'm going to spend some of this week actually doing, because it really gets so much simpler once you start. You know what else? It's like when you meet a family of flowers and it's like, oh gosh, that's not a good color for spring or summer, but let me put that on the fall rotation. And you just have the place where you can write that in. You know, I don't know about you, but we used to have sticky notes all over this building. All right, my friends, I am going to sign off on Instagram. Thank you guys for joining me, and till we meet again.